Hello, and I am Soumya, welcoming you all to the parenting session of the Synth Global Spa Fit and Fab. It's the part of Wellfest, which we are going to be talking to three panelists we have here. We have Kajal Mohile, a yogini. She discovered that yoga gives her the peace and the calmness that she needed around. It's been about 3 years, and now she conducts her classes as well. She's a mom to almost a 2-year-old girl. We have Neeraa. Neeraa is an author. She has written 3 books, which are nonfiction, and there's one which are fiction, and one of them is a nonfiction which is for the pre-teens and young adults. And I've read that book, Neeraa. It's a very beautiful book. You have actually touched a few topics which probably are going to be useful to me when my 10-year-old grows up a little more. And then we, of course, have Harpreet Suri. Harpreet is, look at her, the fashionista. She's a mom blogger. She has 2 kids, Arhan and Ayat, and she gets involved with the promoting of the brands, and she does a lot of stuff which involves her kids also. Incidentally, Neeraa also has had a stint with the copywriting, so she did a lot of copywriting with O&M and the other brands,
Printers, yeah.
and she's consulting them. Kajal was into travel marketing. She was managing a destination, Fiji, and but yeah, now it's a full-time mommy and a yogini. So let's begin with all of you. Let me wish you guys a new year to begin with, and coming to the questions straight away. The pandemic has had its effect on each one of us. Kajal, you have a almost a 2-year-old. For her, it would have been difficult because this is the age when the kids would like to crawl out and meet out with the people, see the birds and meet up with new friends as well.
Yes, yes,
How did
yes.
you manage to handle her?
So it was really difficult. We are living in a nuclear family, so it was just up to me and my husband to keep her entertained the whole day. She was crawling when we went into the pandemic, and she was around 9 months old that time. So that whole separation anxiety thing was kicking in, and the fact that we were locked indoors, the whole day we could not even see our family, like my parents or my husband's parents, for a good 3 months. So that led to a change in her personality. Like if we would even step out after those 4 5 months, when sort of things started getting normalized, and we're like, abhi to bahar nikalna hi hai, and she was walking by then. So it was like, she would like look away from people and hide behind us and all. It's of course changed now. Thankfully, she's come back to her old personality and all, but it was tough to contain a child at home. But I guess that's what 2020 was all about, and we've all like discovered ways to like sort of just work around that situation.
Harpreet, was it similar experience for you as well? I mean, I am a father to a 10-year-old, and we had a we continue to have a difficult situation at home because the kids want to go to the school, they want to meet up with the friends, they want to go out in the garden, run, touch, feel, and see things. How has it been with you?
Mine was a little different. It's strange, but I was very grateful that this happened. It's very strange, but yes, because my son became like a robot. He got up at 6 and he came back at 7 p.m. in the evening after his school is an IB school. So they have all activities at the school only. And he came back at 7, ate dinner, slept. There was hardly any interaction that I realized we are having, because all that I could do for him was maximum bedtime story, but he was too big to be hearing these stories from me. So I was missing all of that with him, and then suddenly all this happened, and suddenly he was home. And I'm sorry, but I was just too happy because I have so much time with him now. We have, a lot of things I felt in this pandemic that he was missing in school in terms of his grammar or language or maths. We worked on all of that. I got some wonderful teachers for him all across the globe actually to teach him. तो मेरे को तो मतलब बहुत ही different experience हुआ है. I felt that many things he could not do because he didn't have time. And here he has learned Ken puzzling, he's learned Sudoku, he's learned Scrabble, he's doing tournaments now. So हमारे लिए तो बहुत ही different था ये. I was glad that this happened. Sorry, but yeah, it worked the other way for us.
Neeraa, you have been observing people. With the observation is when the creativity flows into your words. Now, a lot of
Yeah,
people would have also reached out to you for the situation because you've been writing books, and did people,
yeah, yeah.
and here, right here, sitting here, we have two different experiences, one from Kajal and Harpreet has a totally different view on this. How would you look at it?
Yeah. So, I think I just agree with both of them. Since I was consulting for a healthcare brand, we were actually curating a lot of content during the pandemic, and to do with everything you can do to cope with the pandemic. And a large part of that had to do with kids and parenting, because suddenly the whole dynamic changed, right? The whole home situation changed, and like I think Harpreet mentioned, she got a lot more time with him. So it has been a very peculiar phenomenon, uh, which has been, there has been upside to it as well as the downside.
And I
So
totally
it's
feel
not like it's,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and it's not like it's been all dark. It has also been a blessing, because today I think parents are now far more engaged with their kids, just for the simple fact that they're just around in their space. They are in fact learning things and getting insights about their kids which they were clueless about. So it's a great learning for them as well. And from the kids perspective, I think because uh, some of them, I think the teens and the tweens maybe, have felt a bit of cramping of their personal space, because everyone is in the same house, they're doing work from home, they're eating, playing, everything within. So they have also learned how to probably engage more with the family. So that it has been, I would say it has been a very creative time for both parents and kids, which has led to a lot of more playtime, a lot of creativity within homes and families. There are some people who've created these very interesting family rituals, which they had forgotten about.
like playing Ludo, as simple as playing
Yeah,
Ludo with the
Yeah.
family, carom board.
absolutely. The good, yeah, the old world charm has suddenly come back. So these were some of the insights that we got when we were, curating a lot of content. Yeah, yeah,
Great. You had written a book, One Friend Request from Hanuman.
yes,
Right now, what is that
yeah,
book all about? And I kind of, in a certain manner, relate with that title here because a lot of people made imaginary friends. I mean, great.
yeah,
You're talking to your friend, or you're talking to a doll, treating it a friend. What is your book all
yeah.
about? Would you like to share a little bit on it?
So yeah, it actually all came from this overuse of this digital animal in our lives, especially the youngsters, right? So I said, what if that would be the location for a story? And I didn't want to go mythology, and I wanted to redefine a mythological character as a friend for a youngster. So how would they really relate to this person and build that relationship? So I used the essence of Hanuman, not the mythological character as such, but the essence of Hanuman, which is strength and commitment, and then use that to really build a bond, like a child really builds a bond with this character who is faceless, who she meets on a social media platform. So that's really the story, and how their friendship strikes, and how their bond grows, and how they learn from each other. So that's really what the book is all about. So I wanted to demystify mythology for a youngster who's not really so interested in knowing, dipping into history. But what if we just took the essence and we, could educate the child about, say, Hanuman? Hanuman is just an example. But yeah, so that was very fascinating. And I thought that would be an interesting story to tell. Yeah.
I'll come to the social media part now. Harpreet has, she has a huge social media following, and her professional commitments actually come from that following as well. She involves her kids within the, whatever work that she has to do. Kajal, I'm going to come back to you on this one because I remember you had also done one of those yoga challenges involving the kids as well. So, Harpreet, do you see it as an after, how do you look at it? I mean, involving kids at such a young age, wherein a writer gets inspired to send a friend request from an imaginary character to whereas in the real life, they should be making friends in the real life. How do you look at it? And exposing kids at such a young age to the social media following, they see the glamour part of it. With you meeting, greeting people, with you being looked up as a thorough professional, and of course greeted with the utmost respect when you visit the brand houses. Do you think it's a little too early to expose them to this?
So much to each its own, actually. I was in Shimla recently, like 2 days back. And I met a lot of my followers there with their kids. They knew my kids so well. They were asking me stuff like, so how is your son's Spanish class going? Someone told me we've just launched a product. So these are followers and fans I've met in my entire trip of Mashobra, Shimla, and that Parvanu that I went to. So I don't see it as koi khatra hai. I see it the other way that ultimately they will end up being on social media. So they are exposed too early. So it's very normal for them, for my kids. They shoot with me a lot. It's very regular for them to face the camera or to meet. In a school, so many teachers, so many kids, parents stop and tell my son that, oh, my son has an account. So that we follow you, or how is this going, that going. I see it the other way, that I've trained them early to be ready for life later, because I see a lot of kids like me. When I started Facebook, it was such a big deal. So my kids I think they understand it too early and too well. So they aren't very excited about this whole situation of fan following. उनको regular कर दिया. It's all very regular for them. So when they see mom being mobbed by people, Aran understand. He takes a back seat and he just chills with his father, and mother is giving autographs. So I made it as simple as that. So yeah.
So Kajal, does it come very simply to you as well? I mean, you were a part of the yoga challenge, and I did
Yeah.
see, the little one also being a part of the asanas that you were doing. She was
Wow,
coming
your
to support
daughter.
you.
Yeah. So,
So sweet.
like what they say is really true. They don't listen to you as a parent. They see you, they watch you, they observe you, and then they imitate, right? They want to do the same thing that we do.
Monkey do, monkey see, they say.
Exactly. So yeah, and so like both Harpreet and Neeraa were talking about the upside. Of course, there's been an upside to the pandemic. The biggest one for us is having my husband at home the full time, and at that age where there were so many changes taking place in her, physically, the whole physical development, the mental development now. So it was nice that he could see it up close and personal. And both of us are really into fitness and the outdoors, and also we've taken her for drives to like Sarjat, Navla, Mahabaleshwar. We are now planning a trip up north and all that. So the earlier you involve your kids in all these things, like Harpreet said, is just normal. It just becomes a part of life for them. And for me personally, apart from like handling all the responsibilities at home, with mothering and all, so that my Instagram account was a nice outlet for me. And I've been into yoga for such a long time, but I discovered like these a lot of like-minded people, my entire, like, if I can call them, like, my own yoga community now on Instagram. And we host these challenges, which is just to inspire other people to take part. And it was very important, and a lot of people did bring about this change in their life. And suddenly you wanted to be you wanted to focus on eating good food. And you would see people like making food and baking, and people you thought were never into these things putting up photos, or people doing all these workout challenges online. Of course, everybody is now teaching yoga and Zumba and everything on Zoom. So it's changed, like the dynamics of it has like changed so much. And it's amazing that I could, bring this into my life. And, for me, for my little one, Miraya, at this age, she sees it. And, to have a part of it, like you tell her sit in butterfly pose and she'll actually sit in. You tell her do the downward dog and, she'll do that. And a whole lot of other yoga poses, because, kids are naturally flexible. We all were when, we were that little. So it's really amazing that, she is got this sort of exposure at this young age, that we were able to give that to her as parents.
Great. So mindful living and self-care is something which you are teaching her at a very early age. How, what would you suggest to the mothers, young mothers who
Hmm.
are there? How is it that they should be looking at it? Would you have any advice? Would you have any expertise? Not really an expertise because I realize it's still a learning experience for you.
Yes,
You know,
yeah,
kids
she's
teach us every day a new thing or two, maybe. But
absolutely.
what has been your experience, and how would you like to, or possibly
Yeah.
share that?
So as a relatively new mother, I'd say listen to your instincts. And I honestly take a bit of, like the Indian traditions and, what my mother or grandmother or, chachis and all would do. We are unfortunately also, like so much, inspired by the West and how they bring up their children. Like co-sleeping, for example, is one thing. We forgotten, to have that crib, but we have like a cot instead, and you want to separate the child and not have them sleep together because it's like mat karo aisa. But we've all been brought up like that. So things like that, listen, do what works for your family because the dynamics of each family is different. So you should always, as a parent, know what's best for you as a family unit and do that. We don't have to ape anybody. It's just nice to like draw inspiration from people. So always look up to people for the inspiration. Don't like get carried away. Don't ape. Just like imitate, copy people just for the heck of it. So that would be like my biggest advice to people.
Harpreet, anything that you would say, any learnings on, I mean, any kind of, any different kind of, Arhan was possibly in the, before lockdown, he would come home at 7, but you mentioned that he attended so many classes and lectures and stuff. So he possibly was busy attending them. And how did you guys engage then?
So I learned what is that? Graffiti with him.
Hmm.
I've always liked to paint, but I never had time. So we did a lot of art classes together. And Han on his on the other side, he wanted to learn. See, how as parents we feel ये मुझे करना था, मैंने नहीं किया, मेरे बच्चे को कराऊंगी. How it's that whole thing. So and Han is very keen learner. There were many things he always wanted to do, and I'm glad that this gave us an opportunity that we could do it together. I've never cooked. I don't know what it's like to cook, but I baked. You know how this pandemic taught us how to bake cakes. I started making pizzas with him. So that's how we did a lot of activity together. So मुझे ना वो activity time मिल गया अरहान के साथ. Otherwise he had become a robot, going school, coming back, sleeping, eating food. That's it, which was scaring me somewhere. My husband was again a robot. So we always laugh that that movie Tamasha was made for my husband. He is as workaholic as that Ranbir Kapoor was in that. So as a family, हमने सिर्फ movies देखी या we made food together or we played Ludo. I don't remember मैंने अपने बचपन के बाद Ludo कब खेली होगी. But that is when this pandemic happened, and so I took it as an opportunity. Whereas with my younger one, I made her do no class. I did many lives where I told all the mothers, because if you notice, this whole thing with mothers became that मेरे बच्चे को ये आता है, मेरे आज मैंने बच्चे के साथ ये activity करी. It became like a rat race. And wherein then I came forward and I said, my daughter has not learned any single thing in lockdown, which could be numbers or ABCD or whatever. Because ultimately, I don't know any child in this world who is into education who doesn't know ABCD. So I told all my followers to just stop this race and just see this time as blessing and spend as much time you can with your children instead of just आप मानोगे नहीं सौम्या एक रेस थी वेयर आप हर रोज उसमें एक्ट में मैं तो आई हैव ऑल दीज मदर्स हु आर फॉलोअर्स वो हर रोज मुझे कुछ भेजती थी या मैं जिसका इंस्टाग्राम खोलती थी उसके ऊपर सिर्फ बच्चों की इतनी डिफिकल्ट एक्टिविटीज आयत को आज भी कुछ नहीं आता होगा बट आई एम वेरी हैप्पी बिकॉज आई गॉट टू स्पेंड एंड माई सन स्पेंड लॉट ऑफ टाइम विद हर together we did a lot of stuff which was I think very very important. This quality time was very important for me. Then
Great.
I did a lot of every thrice a week I started doing lives where with a lot of mothers I did how to clean up your house. So I got experts from everywhere, from makeup to cleaning to tidying up your room to how to gift wrap. I did thrice a week classes where what I always wanted, how to wrap a gift, how to tie a ribbon. So I did sessions like these. So I have had great time. मुझे बहुत डर लग रहा है कि pandemic खत्म हो जाएगा And वापस events पे जाना पड़ेगा, and again, you start performing everywhere. You're just going, cutting ribbon, performing. You're just performing. Right now, I'm dressed up in my room, and I'm so excited about this. But yeah, this has to get over, and my son has to go back to school.
Neeraa, one of your book has been the latest for the preteens is the 150 ideas to keep the young minds fit and fabulous is what I would relate to, but it's
Yeah.
fit and fine.
Yeah.
So, so give us a couple of ideas, which possibly would have worked. Harpreet did the lives and got the kids and the mommies busy. Kajal was doing the yoga challenges, still sitting like a yogini that we see her.
Kajal, I'm
So,
joining your yoga sessions, by the way. I
Looking
lead them.
forward.
so tell us, why did you choose such a topic to write that book, and what are the learnings and observations that you had before you actually penned that book?
So actually, I've been quite a modality freak. Okay, I've done almost every spiritual modality, from yoga to Reiki to art of living to Buddhism to just
Wow.
about everything as a seeker. And now access consciousness. I realized at one point that we have so much available as adults, right? But there's nothing which is really there for the younger adults who are actually, if you see the stats, they are going through hell. And while they may have a really large social media following, they're very, very lonely. And we've done a youth research which actually told us this. And I said, what if there was something that would be of value to a younger adult? We as adults, we know where to turn to if we want to cope with XYZ in our life, right? But they have literally nothing. So what if I would, compile an interesting, friendly, not very heavy duty philosophy, but like a go-to companion for a younger adult, and, become his emotional wellness companion. So that's where the seed of the idea was sown. And I did a lot of research, speaking to parents, to counselors, to nutritionists, doctors, just to find out what are the issues that are really ailing them. So I split the whole book into Kajal, I think you will agree that everything is mind, body, spirit, right? We cannot disengage anything, right? So you can't only talk body, there has to be mind and there has to be spirit. So that's the way I structured the book, into mind, body, spirit. And then I just kind of, there are various tips in each section, which a younger adult can relate to. So right from, to maybe loneliness, to maybe gratitude, forgiveness. So I've kind of covered that whole gamut. And I said, if this can benefit even one or two, I'd be happy, uh, that would be a service, right? So that's why I actually chose to. In fact, that's my first non-fiction book. I'm primarily a fiction writer, but I chose this because I really felt the gap, and I wanted to fill that gap somehow.
So,
Yeah, so good.
what has been a learning? I mean, did people reach out to you how
Yeah,
to cope up during these times? Because it's been
yeah.
while Harpreet definitely has a very positive outlook to it. We had a difficult time because my kid, she got stuck for about 2 months at one of her cousin's place in the interiors of Maharashtra. So for the first 2 months, we had no access to her because there was a strict lockdown. Her mom
Hmm.
had to go through a totally different anxious moments. We knocked almost every door to get the passes, and finally, one of them said that, okay, we'll arrange it for you. And
Hmm.
that's how she came back. And now, ever since she's here, the pigeonhole apartments that we have here, she misses the place. She wants to go back there because there was so much of fun. Now it's a
Yeah.
difficult situation. While definitely the parents wanted the kid wanted the parents, but now she's like, no, let me go back there. So
Yeah.
how do we handle that kind of a thing? And Harpreet, anything like this? I mean, would Arhan say that, okay, I'm missing my school, or do we want to go
Yeah.
back to school?
He does say that to me. Initially, he didn't say it. I don't know why. I don't know what happened to him. He didn't even realize that ऐसा कुछ हुआ. He was all busy and we were having the best times. I think जब वो मुझसे बोर हो गया तो उसको लगा कि I need my friends now. And thankfully, the lockdown was over, and his friends of school friends live very nearby. So, very selectively we send them to, he sent him to their house and they come to our house. One or two friends, and that's about it. But they were, I think, used to, he tells me at times, I miss school, mom, I miss football, I miss running. His school has started swimming classes where they get down on the floor and they're swimming on the floor. And we laugh and we laugh. But yeah, he did. But it's okay. I've told him that's how life is, and there are ups and downs. And I think, and it's a great, again, I see it as an opportunity. These kids learned, to live in minimal, to, survive in such kind of situation also. Because बीच में तो खाने का इतना issue हो गया था that for the first time we spoke in our house that एक ही सब्जी बनाएंगे, we'll just do one dal and one sabji, because there was a lot of chaos.
There's a lot of chaos across.
And I'm glad that he has witnessed it, because they were used to, of abundance. And now this time came. And yeah, and he was also very careful कि we'll tell them to cut little salad, So ये जिंदगी में ऐसे मौके I think एक ही बार आते हैं. एक ही बार आए भी ना बार-बार. So yeah, we sailed through.
Also, I think the most beautiful part has been in this lockdown, and I know that's a slightly negative saying of divide and rule, but I think this time divide and rule has really been amazing, because I think the kids have understood also to role play and contribute, be a contributing energy in the house, whether it's cleaning or any kind of responsibility, which earlier they were very comfortably cushioned off it, right? But today, even the tiny ones have actually, got into, okay, I pick up my plate. Even that is a huge thing, So
both my kids,
yeah,
share the same room. And earlier, Bhai used to be in school. It was my daughter's room. Now, Bhai's class is going on. I wants to watch TV. I've never had all these situations, and I don't know how to answer all this. But then I think they learned on their own. How beautiful is that? That they've learned to manage, they've learned to adjust. Isse bada, I think, life ka lesson practically we can never learn. How to be, I tell my son all the time, how grateful, and I started a gratefulness series also on Instagram.
Yeah.
That then they're very grateful because they feel, Mama, at least we are eating, at least we have this which is good. So itna bada lesson to hum kabhi seekh hi nahi sakte. Elders, kids, everybody. You're right, Neeraa.
Kajal, you being a yoga practitioner, and you, of course, with the group, there are a lot of young moms who are involved. Any experience, anybody who connected with you and said that, we are having this issue or that issue, and how did you guys resolve that? Any of those experiences that you would like to share?
Yeah, so like in my own group of friends where we've got kids who are like pretty close to in age, it's been challenging. So we've got like in that particular group there are like kids from as like there were newborns to kids who are like 6-7 years old, and everybody had their own different challenges. But exactly what Harpreet is saying, that the fact that you're together as a unit, and somewhere you feel like you're stuck, but you're stuck together, and then you have to just manage, and it's amazing how everybody from younger kids to older kids just managed to do that, to spend that time. Of course, parents got all that time to spend with the kids, and the kids get all that time. Like for me, even my little one, like she's saying कि अभी वो plate उसका हो गया तो plate लेके आएगी kitchen में, banana peel खाया, मतलब banana खाया तो she'll go to throw the peel in the dustbin. I've got back to cooking full time at home. Earlier, I used to have a cook because she was like just born and I needed that extra help and all. But she saw me like sweeping and mopping, so she also wants to do that. Cooking to aati hai, ladle leke and ghumati hai and everything. So that's the experience that's been like with my immediate close friends and all. Kids bade nicely they've like learned things from us and gotten so involved with our day-to-day activities, which otherwise they would, like you said, very like cushioned life hai, everybody is doing things for you. But everybody got to that point, even people who had full-time help at home, it was still difficult or different in a way, where two siblings were together and they had to then suddenly share that shared space, especially in a place like Bombay where we still have like we live in apartments, like tiny houses.
So you would have seen a lot of people started practicing yoga because suddenly everybody was like, you have to take care of the well-being part, immunity building. So what kind of
Immunity
stuff? I
building,
mean,
breathing, like, pranayam. That is like, the first time people really, focus that much attention on it. So yeah, like I've had so many requests, and that's how I started teaching yoga, because, I would post all these, like, photos and videos as part of the challenges that I was hosting and also participating. And, people reached out to say that, we also want to practice, and that's how, it started. And the other, sort of baby that came out of this pandemic was I started my own soaping business. So now I make like soaps myself at home. And I've just started that in October, but touch wood, it's, already, taken off and doing well. So it was, yeah. So that's like been the biggest, outcome of this, that I found my, space into this, into wellness.
very nice.
So
So
many
you
people
have
became entrepreneurs, yeah. I'm amazed
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
women have come out and the kind of businesses they have come up with. Amazing.
Yeah.
Neeraa, Harpreet just mentioned that a lot of women entrepreneurs have come up. At the same time, there has been a lot of insecurity in terms of the examinations, in terms of the job losses, in terms of the pay cuts and stuff. How do you look at it? I mean, any words that you would be penning down on it or something? What is it?
Uh, so, in this time, also there has been an unusual spike in anxiety. And there is an organization which had received, I think, maximum calls, distress calls, to their helpline, because everyone was going through such a huge change. Also, economically, a lot of people were hit really badly, and for them to kind of feed the families and look at their needs and schooling and all of that, there has been a unusual escalation in terms of anxiety, which is again, it gave rise to a positive, which is fair. I think a large number of people moving towards some mindfulness practice, whether it is yoga, whether it is meditation, even for the younger ones. That whole practice, because that is all you could do to manage. For example, we had got so many queries from a woman who said, I need help in trying to manage my anger, because I'm angry all the time now, because I'm having to deal with so much, with everything. Everyone is at home, somebody's lost the job, there's financial challenge. She said my anger is completely all over the place. So this is just one example. So it actually has given rise to a fantastic opportunity to really take hold of mental health. And mental health, as you know, it is today one of the key areas of development, not just for a child, but also adult, right? And the second thing, a very interesting thing, a friend's daughter, I asked her, what has been the most interesting thing that has been like, in this pandemic? And she said, I saw Papa actually work in the kitchen, you know and she was delighted, I mean, absolutely delighted, like some victory, but that's also beautiful, because the gender stereotyping has automatically is breaking down because of the situation, right? Because there was always this watertight roles, right? And we in Indian society, it's all the more stereotyped, right? So that is really breaking down, and that's having a really positive impact on kids also, because they're seeing both parents, work equally, whether it is, cooking, or whether it is a Zoom, meeting. They're doing everything together. Both are doing everything. And of course, the women are starting their own, businesses and all of that. So it's actually been, this has been very, very beautiful, actually, a beautiful outcome of the pandemic, this gender stereotyping breaking down. And I hope it continues because, that will be a huge benefit to our society. Yeah, yeah.
We'll quickly sum it up. Harpreet, some parenting tips, not just during the pandemic, but otherwise also, because you're handling two of them. always getting your attention as well as the attention that they deserve from a blogger mom?
I just feel that the way I was brought up, I was given entire freedom to make my own choices, which I do with my kids also. There are no wrongs and rights in my house. We are always continuously trying to, do something new and innovative. It could be anything. There's so much of learning on the go in my house. Till today, when I'm doing these classes with my daughter online, the school classes, other children are much ahead from my daughter. And I spoke to the teacher on the side and I said, Ayat ko nahi aata hai abhi bhi. She said, ma'am, trust me, you're doing this beautifully because the child has no pressure. My daughter's, she's flowing and growing naturally. And that's how I always wanted it to be. And I'm glad I'm doing it. And I tell everybody this. We all learn ABCD. We all learn 1, 2, 3. What we don't learn is the life lessons. Let them learn that. So yeah.
Very beautifully worded. Neeraa, coming back to you now, sum it up. How would you, sum up the session? And then, of course, I'll have my closing remarks as well on it. The plus and the minus, and of course, the biggest takeaway that as parents have seen, you would have also experienced a lot of people coming to you and talking about their experiences. So,
Yes.
the closing remarks on this.
So I think, like I mentioned earlier, the pandemic has actually created an opportunity for more play and creativity, which parents and the children together can, participate in, so that their time spent together as a family is more pleasurable. Rather than something to be avoided, right? Another beautiful thing somebody shared, a family, they said we actually started a very, very simple ritual, which is a prayer ritual before meals. She said earlier we would all have meals anyway separately, somebody coming, going, their own times. But, this pandemic has actually instilled so much gratitude. So we said, why not make that a family ritual and just have that simple prayer of gratitude before every meal? So that was something beautiful. Another amazing thing what has happened is a sensitization of the planet. People have actually now beginning to understand what we have been doing to the planet. And it's a great opportunity today for parents, for adults to actually sensitize kids today. So, you had kids who would come and say, I actually saw so many birds, and all of us experienced it, right? Nature just came flowing in through your window in the pandemic because there was zero pollution. You suddenly saw birds you never saw earlier. And that has been a magical turnaround for the planet, right? So the idea is to really keep it that way and sensitize the younger lot more and more, so that they understand that this planet is, we are here to also contribute to the planet. And this virus being one of the outcomes of this huge I think lopsidedness that has happened with the entire ecology, they can actually start to at least, seed that in with the kids. So maybe a lot more nature trips, understanding, being with the earth more, with nature, understanding what is other kinds of lives, right? Apart from just humans, right? There's so much you learn from animals. For example, pets has been a huge, like a lot more people have adopted pets in the pandemic. And I know kids who have started just feeding strays as a practice today, and which is something beautiful also, right? Because that is a development which you will never learn in any school. That's a life curriculum, and the life curriculum is far more important than what you really learn in schools and on what things, the Zoom sessions that they have to undergo. So yeah, I think, and I think lastly, and I would have to borrow this from a child. So she actually said, my mom, the best part is my mom is not a mom anymore. So I was like, what are you talking? I mean, what do you mean? She said, my mom is a friend. She's become a friend in the pandemic. So, that was such a huge insight. And because she said, my mom is doing everything with me. We're hanging out together. We are chatting up, we are seeing stupid, series together. We're doing mad things together, and I suddenly she's not a mom. She doesn't feel like a mom anymore. So I think, and then when I thought about it, I think the greatest lesson could be unparent. For a while, maybe that could kind of be a way forward. At
Very,
least.
very well said. I take three
Yeah,
things to sum it up. Unparenting, like you said, Kajal
yeah,
said responsive parenting and
yeah,
respectful parenting.
yeah,
And of course, what Harpreet has been doing is a wonderful parenting, because she has been spending time with the kid doing things which she never did in her own childhood, or
yeah.
which she wanted to learn. So, it's been
Another one
wonderful
more,
chatting up
sorry,
with,
sorry to interrupt you. One more thing,
yeah.
as a writer, I'd really like to recommend that kids uh, write not to become a writer, but just to be happy. In fact, writing is the greatest form of therapy, you know. And in fact, I conduct workshops on writing as wellness, uh, as a wellness practice. So that is again another key area that kids could develop, and it's really not about becoming that writer. It's about just releasing your emotions. So it's a great therapeutic practice,
True.
writing.
I,
So
I,
the,
I, I totally agree with you. We have, you're recommending writing for kids. I had been practicing that for a very long time, because, घर में
yeah,
लड़ाई हो जाए, किसी से झगड़ा हो जाए, क्यों बोल
yeah,
के उसको खराब करने का? Write it on a page and then throw it off.
it,
That's how the writing
Yeah.
started for us. And then now, of course, we have the mandala art for the adults, the adult
Yeah.
coloring books that have come up to
Yeah.
basically control your emotions. So, it's been wonderful talking to all three of you. I take a lot of learnings, and I'm sure our viewers would also be taking that learning. What we are doing is, we take three tips: unparenting, respectful parenting, responsive parenting, and a wonderful parenting that we have learned from Harpreet. Involve the kids, practice gratitude with them, teach them new things, learn new things with them, and of course, be a parent that you would want to be, and be a parent that your kids would want you to. Thank you so much. It's been lovely
Thank
having
you
you
so
all
much.
with us, Neeraa,
Thank you.
thank
Harpreet,
you,
Kajal. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
It's been a
Bye.
thank
pleasure.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.